Good afternoon, I am Corporal Freeman, and today we will be going over task number 071 Charlie Oscar Mike 0801, how to challenge persons entering your area. Now, before we begin, we need to go over a few administrative things. The overall risk assessment is low, a few hazard controls in the area. We are in a park, as you can see. A few trees surround us, so be careful of any falling limbs and be aware of where you are sitting. If there are any weather concerns, we will move to a shelter. There are plenty in the area, but we should not have a problem with that. We are also near a busy road and a parking lot. Just stay clear of both and you should be okay. If there are any wildlife, make sure that you do not bother them. You should not be in danger of any kind of wildlife in this area. Also, if there is an active shooter, we will utilize the run, hide, and fight method. Additionally, maintain awareness around yourself. If you see trash, pick it up. We will be doing a police call of this area once training is complete. Now, there's one thing that we need to get done, and that's go over the PCCs and PCIs. Make sure you have your ID card, your dog tags, your water source. Make sure you got your protective gear and your assigned weapon. I'm going to check everybody individually real quick. Okay, so it seems like everybody's got everything. Now let's get started into the actual class. So our class again is 071 Charlie Oscar Mike 0801. How to challenge persons entering your area. Conditions. You are a member of a squad or team providing security for your unit in a field environment. You have your assigned weapon, individual protective equipment, and the current challenge and password. An unknown person or persons is approaching your area. Some iterations of this task should be performed in MOP 4. Standards. Detect and challenge all approaching personnel, prevent compromise of password, allow personnel positively identified as friendly to pass, and disarm, detain, and report personnel not positively identified. Today we will not be performing this training in MOP 4. Are there any questions? If there are no questions, we will then move into the class. Okay, so performance step 1 is detect all personnel entering your area. So you will make sure that you detect personnel entering your area. Our next step, challenge an individual that enters that area. So what you will do is you will cover that individual with your weapon without disclosing your position. Command that individual to halt before they are close enough to become a threat. Now, note, make sure commands and questions are heard loud enough for the individual to be heard, but not loud enough that other individuals outside of that immediate area could hear you. So, we will cover them with our assigned weapon. Ask them to halt. Ask them, who is there? Now, here's another note. The individual should reply with the answer that best describes them. So, again, our assigned weapon, halt, who is there? An example of them calling back, they would say, Sergeant Jones. Then, ask Sergeant Jones to advance to be recognized. That individual will then come up, and once they again are in 2 to 3 meters, you will issue them the halt. So you have them, you will say halt, you will say who is there, they will identify themselves, you will ask them to proceed forward, then you will give them another halt when they have reached 2 to 3 meters. Now you will challenge them with the password. If they do not know the password, they are unfriendly. So then you will what? You will direct the individual to disarm, notify your chain of command, and await further instructions. Now the last performance step is challenge a group that enters your area. Now this step is a lot like the last step, only with a full group. There are a few differences. So make sure you cover that group with your assigned weapon. Order that group to halt. Command, who is there? Wait for a reply from the group. A reply could possibly be friendly patrol. You will then ask them, advance to be recognized. They will then advance. Again, once they get into 2 to 3 meters, you will ask them to halt. The group leader should be halted at a location that provides protection to you and prevents the leader from escaping. Issue the password to that group leader. If they know the password, they are friendly, but if they do not, you will detain. You will detain that individual to disarm, direct that group, direct him or her with you, and have that group wait. Notify your chain of command and await further instructions. Are there any questions? If there are no questions, I will allow you guys 5 minutes to practice. The practicing has concluded. Now we are going to move into actually evaluating. For this evaluation, I will restate the task conditions and standards. Our task is 071, Charlie Oscar Mike. 0801, how to challenge persons entering your area. Conditions. You are a member of a squad or team providing security for your unit in a field environment. You have your assigned weapon, individual protective equipment, and the current challenge and password. An unknown persons or persons is approaching your area. Some iterations of this task should be performed in MOP 4. Standards. Detect and challenge all approaching personnel, prevent compromise of password, allow personnel positively identified as friendly to pass, and disarm, detain, and report personnel not positively identified. Now, I'm going to evaluate one member of the squad. Because only one person has completed this, we have 5 untrained and 1 trained. For retrain and retest, time, date, location, and uniform. For retraining, the time 16:30, May 19th, 2021. Place, Oakland Park. Uniform is OCP's. Make sure you bring your protective gear and your assigned weapon. Okay, now we're going to move into our equipment check, another equipment check, another PCC and PCI. Make sure you get out your dog tags, get out your ID card, your water source, your assigned weapon, and your protective gear. I have now checked everybody, and everybody is good. Now that we have completed, we're going to move on to an AAR. I'm going to record our answers for this AAR. Now, let's get started. What was supposed to happen? The first thing I was supposed to do was introduce myself and brief my deliberate risk assessment. The next thing was to go over the pre-combat inspection and put my checks in for my PCC and PCIs in the checklist. Next, I was supposed to state the task, conditions, and standards. Following that, I was supposed to give step-by-step instructions of the class and demonstrate each step while ensuring all notes, cautions, and warnings were stated. After that, we were moving to evaluation. Once you guys had a 5-minute practice, I then evaluate the squad and give feedback and report assessment of the squad to the leadership. Following those results, I would then state, retrain, and retest time, date, location, and uniform. Lastly, conduct this PCC, PCI. Now, what actually did happen? Tell me what went right and what went wrong. How do I improve the training for next time? Thank you all for your feedback. In summary, we went over what was supposed to happen. You told me what did happen. Then we went over what went right and what went wrong. Lastly, how I can improve the class next time. Okay, just a couple questions. Were there any injuries or equipment damaged? Were all my controls implemented effectively? There were no injuries, so my controls were effectively implemented. I will now check over my work and make sure everything is good to go. My paperwork is good to go. Thank you for participating in my class today. You're released to your leadership. SGL, at this time, my squad is untrained. I request permission to close out the training site.